What if love was fated from the start? What if a whispered word, a forgotten scroll, or a strange dream could reveal your entire romantic future? In the medieval period, from roughly 500 to 1500 AD, people believed in magic, destiny, and the power of foretelling. Could such prophecies truly shape the greatest love stories ever told? Number 10. The unbreakable bond of the love potion. In the dusty, forgotten archives of the Arthurian legends, among the tales of brave knights and cunning sorcerers, a particular scroll speaks of a prophecy that doomed two lovers to an inescapable passion. This is the story of Tristan and Iseult, a love so powerful it defied kingdoms, loyalty, and even death itself. Prophecy, if one can call it that, was not spoken by a seer or etched in stone, but rather brewed in a cauldron by a wise queen named Brangien. She prepared a potent love potion, intended for King Mark of Cornwall and his new bride, Iseult the Fair, to ensure their lasting affection and secure the kingdom's future. The ancient text known as the Romance of Tristan and Iseult, believed to be compiled by Joseph Bédier from earlier French poems, describes this brew as having the power to bind two hearts in an eternal, irresistible. The liquid was not merely a drink, it was a physical manifestation of fate, a liquid prophecy. Prophecy of the potion was simple. Whoever drank it together would be bound forever in a love stronger than any vow. It was an irreversible enchantment. On the sea voyage from Ireland to Cornwall, as Tristan escorted Iseult to marry his uncle King Mark, a terrible accident occurred. The ship was becalmed, and Iseult, feeling thirsty, called for a drink. Her maid, Brangien, mistakenly brought forth the love potion, thinking it was ordinary wine. Tristan and Iseult drank deeply from the same cup, and in that instant the prophecy of the potion sealed their fate. The ancient poems recount how their eyes met, and in that gaze a fire was kindled that could never be extinguished. This was not a slow burning affection. It was an immediate, overwhelming force. The potion did not merely create love, it ordained it. It was a foretelling of their mutual devotion, a magical decree that their hearts would forever beat as one regardless of circumstance or consequence. Prophecy of the love potion set in motion a chain of events that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Despite Iseult's marriage to King Mark, the unbreakable bond foretold by the potion meant Tristan and Iseult could not resist their feelings for each other. They met in secret, their every action driven by the irresistible force that had consumed them. Chronicles such as the poem of Thomas of Britain detail their desperate attempts to hide their love, the clever tricks they employed, and the constant fear of discovery. Potion's prophecy meant there was no turning back, no escape from their shared destiny. Every stolen kiss, every whispered word, every clandestine meeting was a fulfillment of that fateful brew. Potion's prophecy also foretold the profound suffering that would accompany their love. It was a love born of magic, not free will, and it brought with it an endless cycle of pain, jealousy, and exile. King Mark, though he loved Iseult constantly, suspected her, and Tristan. The prophecy of the potion ensured their love would be discovered and rediscovered, leading to banishment for Tristan, and endless trials for Iseult. The tales describe Tristan's desperate wanderings across lands, always yearning for Iseult, always bound by the potion's unbreakable spell. Iseult, trapped in a marriage that could not hold her heart, lived a life of constant longing. The prophecy in its simplicity did not mention happiness or peace, only an enduring, consuming love. And so their lives became a tragic dance around the irresistible pull of the potion, a testament to a magical foretelling that bound them until their final breath. The story served as a powerful reminder in medieval times of how even the most enchanting prophecies could lead to a sorrowful yet undeniably profound destiny. Number 9. The Maiden of the Mystical Isle. Within the rich tapestry of chivalric romances, Tales often speak of knights who journey to distant mystical lands, encountering wonders and fulfilling extraordinary destinies. One such prophecy found in the French romance L'Île de Lanval by Marie de France whispers of a knight whose true love would come from a hidden, enchanted realm. This was not a prophecy of grand battles or kingly succession, but a deeply personal foretelling of a unique and powerful romantic connection. Lanval, a knight of King Arthur's Round Table, was a man often overlooked, forgotten, and left without reward, despite his loyalty and bravery. He was described as a knight of great worth, yet without fortune. A man destined for obscurity until a miraculous intervention. The prophecy concerning Lanval's love was not delivered through a direct spoken word, but through an unfolding of events that felt undeniably fated. One day, while riding alone in a forest, lost in melancholy thoughts, Lanval encountered two beautiful maidens. They led him to a magnificent tent, rich beyond any earthly king's treasury. Inside, he met a lady of unparalleled beauty, Fay, who was destined to be his lover. Her arrival felt like the fulfillment of an unspoken internal prophecy. For Lanval, a sudden revelation of true happiness he had long been denied. The lady, who was of fairy lineage, revealed her existence only to him, bestowing upon him immense wealth and her boundless love. She made him a vow. He would want for nothing, and she would always be there for him, provided he kept their love a secret. The very nature of her appearance in such a magical and impossible setting served as a divine pronouncement of their destined union. Her coming was not random. It was a precise intervention of destiny. Prophecy of the mystical maiden came with a crucial condition. Lanval must never reveal the existence of his beloved lady to anyone. If he did, she would vanish, and he would lose her forever. This was the dark undercurrent of the prophecy, a test of his devotion and discretion. For a time, Lanval lived in bliss, his fortunes reversed, his heart full. He could call upon his lady whenever he wished, and she would appear bringing him joy and riches. This secretive yet profoundly intimate relationship was the very essence of the prophecy. It was not just about finding love, but about finding a specific kind of love, one that existed outside the norms of human society, protected by a magical covenant. The stories portray Lanval as thriving under this hidden blessing, his spirit renewed by a love that felt divinely appointed. However, the prophecy also foretold a moment of severe temptation and potential downfall. One day, Queen Guinevere, insulted by Lanval's rejection of her advances, accused him of being unworthy and unchivalrous. In a moment of anger and a desperate need to defend his honor, Lanval broke his sacred vow. He declared that even the lowliest of his lady's servants was more beautiful than the queen. This outburst directly defied the prophecy's condition, and as a result, his beloved lady vanished, leaving him in despair and facing a trial where his life was at stake. The queen demanded proof of his boast. And with his lady gone, Lanval had none. Yet, in a final dramatic twist, the prophecy revealed its full measure of mercy. Just as Lanval was about to be condemned, his lady reappeared more beautiful than ever, riding on a white palfrey. She came, not to rescue him from his folly, but to affirm their love, to prove his claim, and to take him away to her mystical island of Avalon, where they would live together forever. Her return and their departure was the ultimate fulfillment of the prophecy, confirming their love was not merely human, but otherworldly and eternal, beyond the reach of worldly judgment. The tale suggests that this was the very ending ordained for them from the moment he first encountered her. Number 8. The Dream of the White Stag. In the intricate romances woven around the figure of King Arthur, prophecies often took the form of vivid dreams or symbolic visions guiding heroes towards their destinies. Both glorious and tragic. One such profound and deeply symbolic prophecy is found in the tale of Erec and Enide, a foundational Arthurian romance penned by Chrétien de Troyes in the late 12th century. This story, considered one of the earliest full-length chivalric romances, delves into the complex relationship between love, duty, and honor. Prophecy, while not explicitly spoken, manifests as a grand royal hunt for a white stag, a creature imbued with mystical significance, which foretells the path of true love and its challenging consequences. The prophecy of the white stag begins with a royal custom. Whoever hunts and catches the pure white stag must then kiss the most beautiful maiden in the court. This tradition, a type of ceremonial foretelling, established a romantic challenge, a public declaration of beauty and worth, which Erec, a young knight, was fated to fulfill. The stag itself was a creature of legend, an emblem of purity and destiny in medieval lore, and its pursuit was never a mere hunt, but a quest of symbolic importance. When King Arthur decided to hold the hunt for the white stag, it was not just a sport. It was an act of destiny, a way for the kingdom to discover and acknowledge true beauty and, by extension, true love. The Lay of Erec and Enide describes the stag as a creature of unparalleled splendor, its capture implying a recognition of unparalleled beauty. In the court, the unfolding of the white stag prophecy saw Erec, a knight of Arthur's court, embark on the hunt. Through a series of events and an insult from a rude knight, Erec found himself in a distant town far from the court. There he met Enide, a maiden of extraordinary, unadorned beauty, living in poverty with her noble but impoverished parents. Erec was immediately captivated by her. He decided to prove her beauty by taking her back to court and having her declared the most beautiful maiden, thereby claiming the white stag's kiss. This was the first key fulfillment of the prophecy. The hunt for the symbolic stag led him directly to his fated love. Enide's simple charm and profound grace were a stark contrast to the opulence of the court. Yet Erec's heart recognized her as the one. His decision to champion her in the beauty contest was a direct consequence of the white stag's ancient tradition, proving that their meeting was not by chance. The prophecy of the white stag, however, had a deeper, more challenging layer, one that would test the very fabric of Erec and Enide's love. After they married, Erec, deeply enamored with Enide, began to neglect his knightly duties, spending all his time with her. This led to whispers among the court, accusations of recreantise, meaning a knight who had lost his courage and virtue. Enide, deeply saddened by Erec's loss of honor, secretly wept, fearing that she was the cause of his decline. Erec overheard her lamenting and, stung by her words, believed she was criticizing him. This misunderstanding, born from his deep love and his temporary neglect of duty, propelled them into the prophecy's next phase. To regain his honor and prove his worth, Erec forced Enide to accompany him on a dangerous quest, forbidding her to speak to him, testing her loyalty and love under extreme duress. This trial, a direct result of the king's white stag custom, and the love it inspired, was the prophecy's most rigorous test. The journey, filled with perilous encounters and moments of despair, ultimately served to purify their love, revealing its strength and resilience. Through suffering and shared danger, their bond was reforged, proving that the love foretold by the white stag was not merely about beauty, but about enduring devotion and mutual respect, even in the face of immense challenges. The prophecy of the white stag ultimately led them through a journey of personal growth and reaffirmed their deep, unwavering connection. Number 7. The star-crossed lovers of Verona. While many medieval romances speak of grand quests and magical interventions, some prophecies are more subtle, weaving themselves into the very fabric of daily life, foretelling tragedy from the outset. One of the most enduring and widely recognized of these is the implicit prophecy of doom that hangs over the lovers in the tale of Romeo and Juliet. Although popularized by William Shakespeare in the late 16th century, the story itself and elements of its tragic foretelling existed in Italian and French narratives, Historia Novelamenti from 1530, and even earlier in Masuccio, Salernitanos, il novelino. Concept of lovers fated for sorrow was a prevalent theme in the late medieval period, often serving as a cautionary tale or reflection on the power of destiny versus free will. Prophecy in Romeo and Juliet is not spoken by a specific oracle or a magical being, but rather revealed through a series of dark omens, unsettling dreams, and the omnipresent feud between the Montagues and Capulets. From the very beginning, the chorus in Shakespeare's version, echoing earlier narratives, declares them star-crossed lovers, meaning their fate is written in the heavens, doomed from birth. It tells the audience, even before the lovers meet, that their love will be thwarted and ultimately lead to their demise. The relentless hatred between their families is the vehicle of this prophecy, ensuring that any love blossoming between them will be violently opposed. The very social structure of Verona, steeped in generations of animosity, acts as the foreteller of their tragic end. This constant conflict is not merely background noise, it is the physical manifestation of their predetermined fate. As the story unfolds, the prophecy of their doom is reinforced by various premonitions. Before attending the Capulet feast, where he meets Juliet, Romeo speaks of a dream he had, a fearful dream that sits yet heavily in my breast. He senses that attending the feast will lead to some consequence, some untimely death. This is a clear internal prophecy, a feeling of dread that foreshadows the inevitable. Later, after falling instantly in love with Juliet, the moment they discover each other's family names, their reactions are filled with despair. Juliet exclaims, "My only love sprung from my only hate. Too early seen unknown, and known too late." This realization is a bitter fulfillment of the prophecy, a recognition that their blossoming affection is already tainted by the ancient hatred that divides them. The lovers themselves, in their first moments of joy, already feel the weight of their foretold sorrow, understanding that their love is born into an impossible situation. Prophecy continues to manifest through a series of escalating misfortunes. Friar Lawrence, despite his good intentions, often speaks of the violent ends that violent delights can have. His words, though perhaps meant as a warning, also serve as a grim echo of the prophecy hinting at the tragic outcome he himself inadvertently helps to bring about. The deaths of Mercutio and Tybalt, followed by Romeo's banishment, are direct consequences of the family feud, which in turn fuels the tragic destiny set forth by the star-crossed nature of their love. Each step taken, each decision made by the characters, whether for love or for revenge, only serves to push them further down the path foretold. Even their desperate plan to fake Juliet's death, intended to circumvent their fate ironically, leads directly to their demise. The letter about the plan doesn't reach Romeo, leading him to believe Juliet is truly dead. This final, fatal misunderstanding is the ultimate fulfillment of the initial prophecy, the tragic end that was implicitly present from the moment the star-crossed nature of their love was established. Their story became a profound statement on how deeply ingrained societal conflict and personal fate could intertwine to create an unavoidable romantic tragedy. Number 6. The prophecy of the Green Knight's test. Not all romantic prophecies are about grand declarations of love or destined pairings. Some involve tests of a knight's honor and fidelity, which in turn impact his ability to truly love and be loved. In the high medieval epic poem, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, a work from the late 14th century, a strange and terrifying visitor brings a prophecy that challenges the very essence of chivalric romance. This is not a direct foretelling of a marriage or a specific union, but a test of a knight's integrity, which is deeply tied to his romantic and chivalric identity. Green Knight, a figure of awe-inspiring and magical power, presents a challenge that ultimately exposes Sir Gawain's human frailties and the true nature of his commitment to his vows, both knightly and personal. The prophecy of the Green Knight's test unfolds as a challenge. A Christmas game proposed by the enigmatic axe-wielding figure who rides into King Arthur's court. The Green Knight offers a beheading game. He will allow any knight to strike him once with his own axe, on the condition that the knight seeks him out a year and a day later to receive a return blow. This bizarre offer is the prophecy itself, a foretelling of a specific pre-arranged encounter that will test the chosen knight. Sir Gawain, Arthur's nephew and one of his most honorable knights, accepts the challenge. The Green Knight's seemingly impossible survival after being beheaded, and his calm reminder to Gawain of the appointed meeting, sets the stage for the prophecy's fulfillment. The challenge itself is a prophecy, a decree of a future confrontation, and a trial of Gawain's courage and commitment to his word. The poem emphasizes the exact timing of the return blow, ensuring Gawain's journey is precisely orchestrated by the initial challenge. The romantic aspect of this prophecy comes into play during Gawain's journey to find the Green Chapel. He arrives at the castle of Lord Bertilac and his beautiful wife, Lady Bertilac, 3 days before his fated meeting with the Green Knight. Here, the prophecy of the test transforms into a series of intimate romantic trials. Lord Bertilac proposes a game. He will hunt in the forest each day and give Gawain whatever he catches. In return, Gawain must give Lord Bertilac whatever he gains inside the castle. This game, seemingly simple, becomes a direct test of Gawain's honesty, and by extension his faithfulness to the knightly code, which includes romantic fidelity. Lady Bertilac, acting on her husband's instructions, unknown to Gawain, tries to seduce Gawain every morning. Her kisses are the gains Gawain must surrender. Each kiss is a romantic encounter that tests Gawain's resolve to remain honorable. He resists her more overt advances, honoring his vows of chastity while maintaining his knightly courtesy. However, the prophecy's full test of romantic honesty unfolds on the 3rd day. Lady Bertilac not only offers kisses, but also a magical green girdle, which she claims will protect Gawain from harm. Fearful of the impending blow from the Green Knight, Gawain accepts the girdle and, crucially, hides it from Lord Bertilac. Breaking his oath in the hunting game, this moment of deceit, born of self-preservation, is the subtle, painful fulfillment of the romantic part of the prophecy. It is here that Gawain's human weakness, a desire to live, momentarily triumphs over his chivalric integrity and his promise to Lady Bertilac's husband. When Gawain finally meets the Green Knight, the return blow is delivered. The Green Knight reveals himself to be Lord Bertilac, and the entire game was orchestrated by Morgan Le Fay to test Arthur's court and shame Gawain. Gawain receives a nick on the neck, a wound that corresponds to his single moment of dishonesty regarding the girdle. The prophecy of the Green Knight's test, therefore, was not about foretelling a grand love affair, but about proving the true character of a knight. It showed that even the noblest of knights could falter under pressure, especially when faced with the alluring power of a lady and the fear of death. His failure to be fully honest, born from a romantic interaction, highlighted his human frailty and became a lasting mark of his self-awareness and humility, a profound lesson about the complexities of honor and love. Number 5. The Oracle of the Hidden Spring. In the genre of courtly love prophecies often serve to highlight the extraordinary nature of a beloved or the fated obstacles to a true union. One such fascinating foretelling appears in the anonymous 14th century romance of Floris and Blanchefleur. This tale, popular across Europe, tells of 2 young lovers, Floris, a Muslim prince, and Blanchefleur, a Christian noblewoman, who were born on the same day and shared an unbreakable bond from childhood. Their story is filled with separation, danger, and eventually triumphant reunion, all guided by a quiet, persistent prophecy of their destined connection. The prophecy surrounding Floris and Blanchefleur was not delivered by a grand wizard or a thundering voice from the heavens, but rather through a more intimate, almost familial recognition of their unique connection. Their mother's close friends gave birth on the same day, and the children were raised together. From their earliest years, it was observed that their hearts were intertwined, their laughter echoed one another, and their sorrow was always shared. This deep, innate connection, recognized by all who knew them, served as an unspoken prophecy of their destined future. Together, it was a foretelling not through words, but through an undeniable, observed bond. Later, as they grew, local wise women and village elders would often remark on their extraordinary closeness, suggesting that they were meant to be two souls born for each other, and that no earthly power could truly separate them. This communal recognition acted as a persistent, low-key oracle, affirming their intertwined fate. As Floris and Blanchefleur grew into adolescence, their childhood affection blossomed into a profound, passionate love. However, their families, particularly Floris's parents, the king and queen, were vehemently opposed to their union due to Blanchefleur's lower status and different religion. To break their bond, the king sold Blanchefleur into slavery, sending her far away. This act of separation was meant to defy the perceived prophecy of their union, yet it only served to intensify Floris's devotion. His overwhelming grief and determination to find Blanchefleur were a direct fulfillment of the prophecy, showing that their love was indeed unshakable. The tale describes Floris's despair as so profound that he cared for neither food nor drink, only the hope of finding his beloved. This relentless pursuit became the physical manifestation of the prophecy, proving the depth of their fated connection. Prophecy of their destined union was further reaffirmed through Floris's arduous quest to find Blanchefleur. He traveled across distant lands, facing countless dangers and using all his cunning and resources. At one point, he heard whispers that Blanchefleur had been sold to the emir of Babylon, who kept a tower filled with beautiful maidens. Floris, disguised as a scholar, managed to enter the tower, overcoming numerous obstacles. Within the tower, he was told that the emir would only choose one maiden to be his queen, and the others would be put to death. This was the ultimate test of their fate. The prophecy, which seemed to suggest their inevitable union, now faced a seemingly impossible barrier. Yet through cleverness and a bit of luck, Floris was able to find Blanchefleur among the many maidens. Their reunion, tearful and joyous, was the dramatic climax of the prophecy's fulfillment. When the emir discovered them, he was so moved by the purity and strength of their love that he allowed them to marry and even converted to Christianity. This unexpected mercy, this overcoming of seemingly insurmountable odds, was the final, triumphant confirmation of the prophecy of their unshakable bond, proving that their love was truly ordained and able to conquer all barriers. They returned to rule Floris's kingdom, their love serving as a lasting symbol of destiny fulfilled. Number 4. The Prophecy of the Lost Heir. Medieval romances often feature prophecies about royal lineage and the rightful heir to a throne. But sometimes these intertwine with a romantic destiny. One such compelling prophecy is found in the Lay of Havelock the Dane, an early English romance from the late 13th or early 14th century. This tale centers on Havelock, a humble kitchen boy who is, unbeknownst to him, the true heir to the Danish throne. His destiny is intertwined with the destiny of a princess whom he is fated to marry, thereby securing his own claim to power and bringing peace to two kingdoms. Prophecy surrounding Havelock is revealed early in the story, but not to him directly. When Havelock is a young orphan, his guardian, a wicked regent named Godard, is supposed to drown him to prevent him from inheriting his rightful kingdom. However, as Godard prepares to dispose of the boy, he notices a miraculous sign. A bright light, as bright as day, issues from Havelock's mouth while he sleeps, and a golden cross is visible on his shoulder. This is a clear visual prophecy, a divine sign that Havelock is of noble birth and destined for greatness. The sight is so powerful that it frightens Godard, who decides not to kill the boy but to hand him over to a fisherman named Grim, instructing Grim to drown him instead. This light, an unmistakable mark of destiny, serves as the first foretelling of Havelok's royal future, hinting at a path that will inevitably lead him to a queen and a throne. Grimm, too, witnesses this light and understands its significance, choosing to spare Havelok and raise him as his own son. The romantic aspect of the prophecy becomes clearer when Havelok, now a strong and noble young man, is forced by a cruel English regent, Earl Godrich, to marry an orphan princess named Goldborough. Godrich, who similarly usurped Goldborough's throne, believes that by marrying her to a commoner, he will prevent her from ever claiming her rightful place. This forced marriage, however, is precisely the fulfillment of a prophecy that Havelok's true identity and royal destiny would be revealed through a queen. Prophecy foretold that the common boy would wed a royal maid, and through her reclaim his birthright. The marriage, intended as an insult and a means to disempower Goldborough, is instead the catalyst for Havelok's destiny. During their marriage, the prophecy of Havelok's royal birth and his destined union with Goldborough is spectacularly confirmed. One night, Goldborough sees the miraculous light shining from Havelok's mouth while he sleeps, just as Grimm and Goddard had seen it years before. She also sees the golden cross on his shoulder. Overwhelmed by this divine sign, she realizes that her husband, the humble kitchen boy, is in fact a king by birth. This moment is the central fulfillment of the prophecy, a revelation that not only confirms Havelok's identity, but also cements their fated connection. The story recounts how Goldborough, filled with awe, wakes Havelok and tells him of the vision. This realization empowers them both. They decide to travel to Denmark to reclaim Havelok's kingdom. The prophecy, initially a silent divine sign, now becomes a driving force. Their journey, filled with trials and battles, ultimately leads to Havelok reclaiming his throne. They return to England, where Havelok, with his proven royal lineage and Goldborough by his side, also claims her throne. Their love story, therefore, is not merely a personal romance, but a fulfillment of a grand prophecy that restores order, justice, and proper kingship to two nations, all because a humble orphan was destined to marry a princess and reveal his true shining self. Number 3. The Quest for the Fair Unknown. In the genre of heroic quests, prophecies often guide knights, not just to glory, but to the very essence of their identity and their destined love. One captivating example of such a prophecy is found in The Belle Inconnue, or The Fair Unknown, a late 12th century romance by Renaud de Beaujeu. This tale tells of a young knight, Gareth, who arrives at King Arthur's court, his lineage unknown, seeking to prove his worth. His quest, seemingly about rescuing a queen, gradually reveals a deeper romantic prophecy about his own origins and the beautiful maiden he is destined to love. The prophecy for the fair unknown, initially, is one of concealed identity and eventual revelation. Gareth, who calls himself Beaumains, or Fair Hands, at Arthur's court, is mocked and underestimated because his true parentage is unknown. However, the wise Merlin, often a source of prophecies in Arthurian legend, recognizes Gareth's noble spirit and potential, subtly hinting at his true lineage, though not explicitly stating it. Prophecy is more of a sense, a foretelling that this humble, unknown knight will perform great deeds and eventually find his true place. This unspoken foretelling of his greatness is the backdrop against which his romantic destiny unfolds. It suggests that a hidden nobility will lead him to a deserving and equally noble love. The specific romantic prophecy unfolds through a perilous quest that Gareth undertakes. A beautiful maiden named Cleodalis, in some versions, arrives at court seeking a knight to save her mistress, the Queen of Snowdon, from a powerful sorcerer named Malgir. Gareth, despite the ridicule of Sir Kay, is granted the quest. During his journey he encounters numerous challenges and defeats, powerful knights proving his skill and courage. Prophecy here is that his success in this quest which appears to be merely a knightly duty, will lead him directly to his fated love, Cleidalis. Initially scornful of Gareth due to his unknown status, gradually comes to respect and admire him as she witnesses his prowess. Their journey together becomes a silent unfolding of the romantic prophecy, as their initial antagonism gives way to a growing affection, a slow-burning realization that their paths are intertwined. The true romantic prophecy of the fair unknown reaches its climax when Gareth finally defeats the sorcerer Malgir and frees the Queen of Snowdon. However, the Queen reveals a further prophecy. Gareth is not merely to rescue her, but also to win the love of a beautiful fairy lady named Blonde Esmeralda, a powerful enchantress who holds the key to his full destiny and his ultimate happiness. This specific foretelling of his destined love for a fairy lady is a grand romantic prophecy. To fulfill this, Gareth must overcome additional challenges, including a dangerous tournament where he distinguishes himself. His victory in the tournament, fought in the presence of Blonde Esmeralda, is a public declaration of his worthiness for her love. It is during this time that his true identity is revealed. He is Sir Gareth, King Arthur's nephew. The revelation of his royal lineage coincides with the fulfillment of his romantic prophecy. The fairy lady, Blonde Esmeralda, accepts his love, recognizing him as the valiant knight destined for her. Their union, therefore, is not just a personal triumph, but the grand culmination of a multi-layered prophecy, the unknown knight proving his worth, reclaiming his identity, and finding his destiny that combined valor and romance in equal measure. Number 2. The Maiden of the Lake's Chosen Knight. The Arthurian legends are a fertile ground for prophecies, and many of them revolve around destiny, power, and significantly love. One of the most famous and tragic romantic prophecies involves Lancelot and Guinevere, a love that defined an era and ultimately contributed to the downfall of Camelot. While their love is often seen as a choice, various elements within the larger narrative, especially the role of the magical Lady of the Lake, suggest a fated connection, a romantic prophecy that was both glorious and ruinous. Prophecy of Lancelot's greatness and his destined connection to a queen begins not with a direct utterance, but through his very upbringing. Lancelot was raised by the mysterious and powerful Lady of the Lake, a sorceress figure who embodies the ancient magic of Britain. She took him as a child after his parents died, fostering him and teaching him all the skills necessary for a knight. This act of raising him was a form of silent prophecy, a preparation for a specific, important destiny. The Lady of the Lake was known to possess knowledge of the future and to guide certain individuals to their preordained paths. Her nurturing of Lancelot, giving him the epithet Lancelot du Lac, Lancelot of the Lake, was a deliberate act of shaping his fate, foretelling his emergence as the greatest knight. Her actions were a silent decree that he was meant for exceptional deeds, and implicitly for an exceptional, though perilous, love. She sent him to Arthur's court, not merely to be a knight, but to fulfill a greater romantic destiny. The romantic prophecy truly begins to unfold when Lancelot arrives at King Arthur's court. He is immediately captivated by Queen Guinevere, and she by him. Their instant mutual attraction is described as a love born of first sight, yet destined for a deeper, more complicated entanglement. This immediate connection, almost magnetic in its pull, serves as the initial powerful fulfillment of the Lady of the Lake's silent foretelling. It suggests that Lancelot was specifically groomed, not just for glory, but for this specific, all-consuming love. While their affection blossoms gradually, the intensity of their initial meeting and the subsequent depth of their feelings indicate a powerful fated bond that transcends mere infatuation. The tales, such as those found in the Vulgate cycle, suggest that their love was predestined, a bond forged by powers unseen, implying a romantic prophecy that set them apart from ordinary lovers. Prophecy of their fated love, however, carried with it a heavy burden. It would lead to sorrow and the undoing of Camelot. Though their love brought great joy to Lancelot and Guinevere, and spurred Lancelot to perform incredible feats of chivalry in Guinevere's name. The silent prophecy of their union, therefore, was not one of unblemished happiness, but of a profound yet ultimately destructive passion. Their secret meetings, the constant fear of discovery, and the inevitable betrayal of Arthur are all direct consequences of this fated love. The tales often describe Lancelot's agonizing internal conflict between his love for Guinevere and his loyalty to his king, a conflict that was set in motion by the very destiny that brought them together. Prophecy implicitly foretold that this extraordinary love would come at an extraordinary cost. Ultimately, the discovery of their affair shattered the unity of the Round Table and led to war, leading to the prophecy's full tragic fulfillment. Their fated love, prepared for by the Lady of the Lake, proved to be both the peak of chivalric romance and the very cause of its greatest undoing. Fulfilling a complex romantic prophecy that spoke of both unparalleled devotion. Number 1. The Dragon's Curse and the Lion's Embrace. In the realm of medieval romance, some prophecies are not just about finding love, but about overcoming a terrible curse or a fated beast. The story of Yvain, the Knight of the Lion by Chrétien de Troyes, written in the late 12th century, presents a unique prophecy that intertwines a knight's fall from grace with a destined protective love for a lion, ultimately leading him back to his true human love. It is a prophecy of redemption through an unlikely bond, illustrating how true love can heal even the deepest wounds of destiny. The prophecy for Yvain begins not with a direct foretelling, but with a series of actions that lead to a magical curse, which then sets the stage for a fated intervention. Yvain, a knight of King Arthur's court, journeys to a magical forest and defeats a powerful knight, Esclados the Red, who guards a magical spring. He immediately falls in love with and marries Laudine, Esclados' widow, with the help of her maid, Lunette. However, Gawain, Yvain's friend, convinces Yvain to leave Laudine and pursue knightly adventures, urging him not to let love make him soft. Laudine agrees, but only if Yvain returns within a year. Yvain, forgetting his promise due to his adventures, passes the deadline. Lunette arrives and publicly shames him, taking back a ring Laudine had given him, which protected him from harm. This public shaming and the withdrawal of Laudine's love is a form of immediate painful consequence, and it sends Yvain into madness. He wanders the wilderness a wild man, lost to his former self. This descent into madness is the curse element of the prophecy, a foretelling of his isolation and despair until a destined event brings him healing and a new companion. The romantic prophecy then unfolds through a bizarre but deeply significant encounter. While wandering in the forest, Yvain witnesses a fierce dragon battling a lion. Instinctively, Yvain, despite his madness, chooses to help the lion, recognizing the dragon as the more malevolent creature. He slays the dragon, saving the lion's life. From that moment, the lion becomes his loyal companion, never leaving his side. This companionship is the central and unexpected fulfillment of the prophecy. It is not a spoken foretelling, but an act of fated loyalty that binds Yvain to an animal companion who mirrors his own lost nobility. This bond with the lion becomes the lion's embrace in the prophecy, symbolizing the protective, unconditional love that will guide him back to sanity and eventually to his human love. The lion's loyalty is absolute, a silent promise of support in all his future endeavors. Prophecy of the dragon's curse and the lion's embrace then culminates in Yvain's journey back to sanity and his efforts to regain Laudine's love. With the lion by his side, Yvain begins to perform great deeds, helping others always, with the lion fighting faithfully beside him. He becomes known as the Knight of the Lion, his identity now linked to this fated companionship. Through his selfless acts of chivalry, he gradually regains his honor and sanity, though his original love, Lodin, remains angry. The lion, in essence, becomes the vehicle for his redemption and the key to fulfilling the romantic prophecy of regaining his beloved. Each act of heroism, each battle won with his lion, is a step towards proving his worthiness once more. Finally, through the clever machinations of Lunette, who recognize Yvain's true heart and noble deeds, once again, Lodin is tricked into granting Yvain an audience. She is still bound by her vow never to forgive him. But Lunette cleverly finds a loophole. Yvain is brought before Lodin, still recognized as the Knight of the Lion, and he makes a profound plea for her forgiveness. His steadfastness and the silent testimony of the lion by his side ultimately move Lodin to pity, and then to renewed love. Their reconciliation is the ultimate fulfillment of the prophecy, showing that even after a great fall, a fated, protective love embodied by the lion can lead a knight back to his true human connection. Prophecy of the Dragon and the Lion, therefore, was a unique foretelling of redemption and the power of an unconventional, yet destined bond to restore love.